Before I get into all the vocabulary, I would like to include a list of everything I'm going to talk about. This information will also be in the description. Geometry is a very interesting subject, but in order to understand it, you have to first understand the vocabulary. Let's start by understanding lines. This is a line, and there are three things you need to keep in mind about lines. First, a line is straight. There are no curves in a line. Lines extend infinitely in both directions. They just keep on going. And lines have no thickness. There are line segments, which is part of a line, but it has two endpoints. Another way to think about this is that the endpoints are connected to each other by a line. This means that line segments are not infinitely long, and they have a set length. Line segments have names. If this is point A and this is point B, then it would be segment AB, and it could also be written like this. Rays look like this. Rays have one endpoint, and they extend infinitely in one direction. In this picture, the endpoint is here, and the line that extends from that extends infinitely in one direction. Rays can have names like ray AB. Ray AB can also be written like this. There are several different types of triangles. You may already be familiar with the right triangle. So this is what the right triangle looks like, and it gets its name from one of the angles being a right angle, which is an angle that is 90 degrees. In this picture, the right angle can be seen at the bottom left of the triangle. There are also equilateral triangles. In an equilateral triangle, all the sides are the same length, and all the angles are the same size. You may also see equilateral triangles with lines in the sides. The lines indicate that all the sides are the same length. One fact about triangles is that they all contain 180 degrees. So that would mean for the equilateral triangle that each angle would be 60 degrees. Then there's the isosceles triangle. In an isosceles triangle, only two of the sides are the same length. We can also have scalene triangles. For this kind of triangle, no sides are the same length, and all the angles are different sizes. There are three types of angles that you should become very comfortable with in geometry. The first one you've already seen in a triangle, and that's the right angle. Right angles are 90 degrees. We also have obtuse angles. These are larger than 90 degrees, but less than 180 degrees. Let's say this picture is 164 degrees. That would make it larger than 90 degrees, but less than 180. Finally, we have the acute angle. Look at the little acute angle. He's so little and cute. It's not like that big obtuse angle. That angle is so weird. Just kidding. Acute angles are less than 90 degrees. In this picture, the angle 64 is less than 90 degrees. These are your three basic angles, but there are other complicated ones, which I will go over with you as well. Let's start by looking at complementary angles. Here's the right angle, and they can contain complementary angles. In other words, complementary angles are two different angles that can be added together to get 90 degrees. So now I've drawn in two different angles. So this angle right here is 40 degrees, and this angle right here is 50 degrees. Both of these angles add up to 90. But complementary angles don't have to be together. So both of these angles are complementary, and they add up to 90 degrees. But they don't have to be in the same place, and they don't have to be right beside each other to be complementary. While we're on this screen, I would like to talk about adjacent angles. Adjacent angles share the same side, and they have the same vertex. Adjacent angles do not have to add up to 90 degrees, but I was just using this as an example. So let's recap. Complementary angles add up to 90 degrees, and adjacent angles are right beside each other. They share the same side and the same vertex, but do not have to equal 90 degrees. The angles can be larger or smaller. You could even have a 90-degree angle beside another 90-degree angle, and those would be adjacent angles. Another type of angle we could have is a straight angle. So straight angles are 180 degrees, and it looks like a straight line. These are parallel lines, and if you can recall, parallel lines have the same slope. They never intersect, and they do not have to be the same length on your paper in order to be parallel. Sometimes you may have two lines, but you're not sure if they're parallel. One way to tell if two lines are parallel is by using a transversal line. A transversal line is a line that passes through two different lines on the same plane at two distinct points. So it passes right here on the second line and right here on the first line. Many different angles are formed by a transversal line passing through two other lines. Now we have angles 1 through 8. The four interior angles are 3, 4, 5, and 6. The sum of the interior angles is given by n minus 2 times 180 degrees. So now I have that formula right here for you. There are also alternate interior angles, such as 3 and 6 and 4 and 5. And alternate angles are also congruent. If you recall what congruent means, it means that they're equal. So for 3 and 6, their angles would be the same. Alternate exterior angles are the ones on the outer edges. So 1 and 8 would be alternate exterior angles, and 2 and 7 would be alternate exterior angles. These angles are congruent, so angle 1 and angle 8 would be the same. I know that there's a lot more geometry vocabulary that we haven't covered yet, but I think we've covered a lot of the basics. In the future, I may make another vocabulary video for you. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave one down below. Also, if you liked this video and thought it was helpful, don't forget to like and share with all your friends. And subscribe. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.